Okay, so ready to dive into this.
Yeah, let's do it.
We're getting into some really juicy stuff today, and it's something, honestly, I think everyone's probably thought about at some point, right? Like, can you actually love someone, like really love them deep down, but just, not really like them?
I think so, yeah. I mean, I've definitely gotten that question a lot, and the articles you sent over, it's amazing how much research is out there about this.
It's kind of mind-blowing, right? Because we throw around the word love all the time, like, I love that coffee, oh, I love that band. But when it comes to loving another person, these articles, they go deep. They're talking about this intense emotional bond, commitment, even putting their needs before your own. Like, whoa, that's a lot to unpack.
It is, and I think that's where the difference with like comes in.
Yeah.
Because when you like someone, it's more about enjoying their company.
Mm.
You know, you appreciate them, you have things in common. But love, it's a whole other level.
Totally. So then the big question is, can you have one without the other? Can you have that deep love without actually liking the person? And that's what we're going to try to figure out today, right?
Exactly. And the really interesting thing is, it's not just some theoretical idea. The research, it's full of real stories, real people who are dealing with this right now.
Yeah, like that one woman who wrote in, the one about her sister. She was saying how after this huge betrayal, she still loved her sister, I mean, their family. But liking her, that was a whole different story.
It's tough, right? Family dynamics that can be so complicated. And it's not just limited to family either. Think about romantic
Oh,
relationships.
yeah.
The source material. There was this one study about couples who were deeply in love but constantly butted heads. Like, imagine those two trying to pick a restaurant together, you know? It's got to be tough.
I can't even imagine. And then on top of everything else, the research talks about how this whole love without liking thing, it can really mess with communication.
Oh, absolutely. Think about it. If you're already not crazy about spending time with someone, how easy is it going to be to work through disagreements?
Not easy at all, I'd imagine.
Right. And the research backs that up. It found that these types of relationships often get stuck in these negative cycles, like avoiding each other, being passive aggressive. And that's not exactly a recipe for success.
Okay, so this is what I'm wondering. If we find ourselves in this situation, are we doomed? Is there any hope?
Well, it's definitely a challenge, but it's not a lost cause.
Okay, good.
The research talks about the importance of setting boundaries, and it makes sense, right?
Yeah, totally.
You're acknowledging that, hey, you might not be best buds with this person, but you can still have a functional, even respectful relationship, especially if there's that underlying love.
Right, you're sort of drawing a line in the sand, like, okay, this is how it's going to be.
Exactly. And this is where finding that common ground becomes so important.
Maybe it's a shared hobby, or even just one topic you can talk about without wanting to, pull your hair out. It's those little connections that can make a big difference.
It's like finding that one little thread that's holding it all together, even if everything else feels frayed.
That's a good way to put it.
So as we're wrapping up here, what's the big takeaway? What should we be thinking about after we finish this deep dive?
I think the main thing is just realizing how complex relationships really are.
Yeah.
It's rarely simple. There's so much nuance to it. But if we can at least try to understand how love and work together, even when they clash, it helps us be more patient, more empathetic in our relationships.
Right, because it makes you realize that maybe it's not always about that fairy tale effortless love. Sometimes it's messy, sometimes it's hard. But that doesn't mean it's not real or that it's not worth fighting for.
Hmm.
So as you go about your day, maybe take a second to think about your own relationships, the good, the bad, the complicated. It really makes you appreciate all those different shades of love, doesn't it?
It really does.